All right, guys, welcome back to another Savannah chat. This week we've got How the Warehouse Works with John Floody, who is what is your title officially?
Yes, operations, logistics. Kind of do both.
Director of Operations and Logistics. He is basically the connection between the front of the house and the back of the house. John was a craft beer manager. Before that, he was a sales rep. Been with us for a while, and there's no one who knows how our warehouse works better than he. So I will let him take it away and kind of give you guys a sense of why we're doing this chat is to help you understand how this works, so you guys know what to do and what not to do to set the warehouse up for success, so they can return the favor. The less work we create for each other, the better off everyone is, and we can focus on our jobs of selling in new products, and they can focus on their jobs of picking and delivering. So that's the idea. Mr. Floody, take it away.
Thank you. Guilfoil, you forgot to mention that you were also the one who trained me. So if I give any bad information, it's your fault.
Yes, sure, that's fine.
All right. Thank you everyone for your time today. Guilfoil kind of started me off with a few questions. Let me make sure it's muted. So what I want to do essentially is go over a few key things, things you hear all the time but might not understand. And hopefully I can kind of put this into perspective and make it a little easier and kind of see how the whole picture comes together. Um, so to kind of start off, one question we always get is, what is a load sheet? And really simply, it is just kind of a collection of invoices. So as a rep, when you send an invoice, we need a way to group it all together to wisely load it all, right? So what you might notice, and I'm going to go ahead and start sharing a screen here. I feel like it's a lot easier to see what we see on the backside so that you have a better understanding of what it means when we say, hey, we need a load sheet for this or whatever it might be. So to start off with, we have a load sheet. A load sheet, it really is quite simple. What it is, open these up a little more. Um, as you can see here, it's a simple route. It could be anything from something coming down as samples or an actual truck route. From here, like I said, we can see all the actual invoices, the actual customer and where things are going. So what this allows us to do is say, hey, we're going to take this collection of invoices and say that they need to go to Athens. We can group them all together and pick it all together. Um, and so a lot can kind of come with that. But Guilfoyle, do you want to go through some of the questions and I'll kind of answer them as we go?
Sure, that could work. Um, I think you did a good job explaining what a load sheet is. I've actually never really known either all the way of what it really is. Um, let's give a good lesson of what happens when I put in an order from me pressing it into my handheld to it being delivered.
Perfect. I actually will share my screen here. I think that might be the easiest way to do it. So the second you put in an order, there are two different types of syncing that occurs, and I want to make sure I start off with that. There's what
You
we
hold
call
on.
both a soft sync and a hard sync.
You are
So
showing your
I'm
your
just
desktop
going to jump
screen,
into
not
a
your cell
customer
phone.
real quick.
Okay.
And say I were to create an invoice. This view is probably similar to what you guys are used to somewhat, where you plug in how much you want to get, etc. The second you hit, let me stop sharing there and jump into a handheld. I feel like this might be a little more convenient.
I think it works either way.
This is kind of the view people are used to seeing here. Sorry to hold up.
We'll edit this part out.
Thank you. All right. So the second you go into an invoice, so as you can see, there's two different ways to go into an invoice. There is both My Day, which is what I will strongly recommend everyone to use. The problem with going into a customer, which is the other way, is that you are basically saying, hey, I don't know where this account is going to get routed. I'm just going to put it out there that there's an invoice and hopefully someone sees it and moves it to the right place. So by using My Day, we're saying, hey, this is where an account should have an order day and then when it should go, and it will automatically put that invoice on the right route. What happens when you don't do that is it makes somebody physically and manually move that invoice to the right route or to the right load sheet every single day. So essentially you put in an order. As you can see here, one question I always get, here's an invoice. What do I do when I get to this screen and I need to add a new invoice? You go to add and then route to next scheduled delivery day, the top choice. There's been a lot of back and forth on that. That's what you should do. So say I plug in one case there. Once I hit back, that order is what we call a soft sync. That means that has already come to me. So everybody who kind of goes in and out of the invoices, once you go back to this screen, it's already sent to me. It's called a soft sync. I want everybody to be aware that you can't go back and change an invoice at this point. It's already been sent to me. Some people always ask, well, sometimes I can get in there and edit it. You can, but it's probably going to go into conflict. If we saw that invoice and we started to palletize it, chances are it's in conflict. And I'll explain conflict here in a second. So you want to add to the invoice, you just scroll down to the bottom here and click add invoice. And then you can continue adding to it. That's one thing I really want to get out of this lesson. So once you hit this back button, it sends me the invoice. And what happens from here, I think it kind of helps to show the whole process all the way through. Once you click back and sync and share it to me, it pops up on our screen like this. So we see the route and we can see like, hey, this route to Rome has all of these invoices and this is how it populates for us. And we go through and we click the orders and say, okay, this is a cherry pick. You know, each of these are different pick methods that we use. So if it's a package store, we might just have one person walk around the warehouse and grab all the items for the package store. But if it's something like a lot of Tropicalia, we might say, hey, let's just put it on the conveyor and send it straight down the conveyor. So every pick method means that we might pick something differently. So we'll have somebody click and choose which items and how we're going to pick. And then they do what we call palletizing. Once we palletize, you can't change the order at all. So all day long, one person, his name is Jabari, and it was Bryce before them, we'll sit here and we'll plan out how we're picking the day. And so you might notice that a lot of these routes have cutoffs. So like here, chain 12 p.m. That chain route has a 12 p.m. cutoff because we cannot wait until 5 p.m. to start picking everything. When we used to do that, we would never get our trucks loaded until noon. And that means you guys are chasing the trucks and having to pull items off the truck. And that's not what we want you guys doing. We want you guys out selling and out moving and doing all the things you need to do and not delivering product. That should be on us. So that's why we have cutoffs. We need to be able to kind of separate and say, hey, we got to do some stuff early in the day. So anybody who has routes or stops that they go to early and can go, hey, John, I'm at this account every Monday from 7 to 10 a.m. By 11 a.m., you're good to go ahead and, pick that order. Those kind of accounts help us out a lot because then we can get ahead of it. That means we can get trucks out by 5 a.m. and you're not missing any of the cutoffs, and it really helps you guys on the back end. So what we do from here is we'll go ahead and pick and process all these so you can kind of tell our guys are going through now and they're palletizing everything, getting things ready to go. And then at 5 p.m. or for certain routes, so like this 4 p.m., they get locked, which is this little lock button here. Once we lock it, that means our routers can go ahead and decide what stop order we go and see these accounts in. So the way our delivery drivers make each stop. And there's a lot that goes into it, right? We got to think about the cutoffs. We got to think about, this mean guy is not there to write the check at the right time, and he's mad if we don't, get to the count on time. So we have to think about all those little peculiar things that kind of go into routing, and we build out our what we call a manifest that says this is the order that we will visit these accounts. So as you can see here, you can see all the stop counts, and then this is the order that we're going to go visit this in. From there, we actually get into the loading process and we'll reverse load everything. So the thing that is the first stop is actually the last stop to get loaded in the truck, right? So that way everything's in order. So when people are always like, hey, just throw this onto the back of the truck, I'm like, it's not that simple because it ends up scrambling all these stops. When we throw an order in late, it doesn't work that way. The system doesn't recognize it and it says, hey, we're just going to scramble this route and we can't it makes the driver's day a lot harder because they're digging through the products to find the stops they need. And let's see, last bit on locked-in routing. I think I covered just about everything on from when you send an invoice to where it gets delivered and how it gets delivered.
Yeah, I like that. You did address the soft sync
Mhm.
portion when you were on your phone.
Yep.
Michael McDaniel just came up with a very clever solution. This is something that you guys can use when you have a customer, you're in a store and they're editing their orders a lot. You all know who that's going to be. He disconnects from his Wi-Fi while he's building an order. That way, if he does have to back out to check a deal, the order isn't being sent because there's no way for that order to leave the tablet. He can then go back in, blah, 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 chat and everything. And then once the order is finalized in that soft sync phase, he could then turn his Wi-Fi back on, sync, and that one order is all going to go. Very, very clever way to get around that little soft sync issue that Floody mentioned.
Mhm.
Secondly, when it comes to building versus my day or versus customer number, if you do have a customer that you don't have on the correct my day, simply send an email to the renewals email. This account, I need to add a pre-sale day on Monday, please. It's a Tuesday delivery, it's a Wednesday delivery. Please put them on Monday so it gets routed correctly. Those girls know how to do that. Those ladies know how to do that instantly. So, yeah. If you don't do Wi-Fi, so you could also turn off the data on your phone, but that's risky. Again, that's kind of a feature that is a little clunky when
It's
it
a
comes.
The reason behind it is we've had it kind of the hold on.
Airplane mode would work.
Yeah, the reason behind having the soft sync is that there are more times that we can probably catch an order and catch an issue. So it is better that we have it on. There's another workaround that we are trying to do, which will mean that we won't palletize immediately. If we can have more cutoffs, then we turn off the palletization feature where we can just say, okay, at 11 o'clock, we lock everything and palletize. And that means you could edit your orders all the way up until 11 o'clock. If we can get to that point, we can make that all happen. The problem is we need more orders early, not at 5 p.m.
What if you have an account that opens at 5 p.m.? John Park, be more specific, please. You meaning for delivery? Like they won't take their delivery until 5 p.m.? That's an interesting situation. I mean, that's extremely late. We do have late truck routes that are still working that late on occasion. But that is in my opinion, more of a conversation with the accounts saying, "Hey, somebody has to be here at a reasonable time, one day a week. Let's say 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock at the latest, and have a delivery window for us that we're delivering during our business hours." It's very tricky to promise that we can always make a 5 p.m. delivery window. We're going to miss that a lot just because it's so late. We have to ask them to meet us in the middle. How do we get our cutoffs edited? That's a good question, Tracy. Not an option for
Cutoff
everyone.
edits, they typically work the easiest if you email either Karen or Jabari because they're in the invoices. They can see it. Try not to send them to me. I am your last resort. If you don't hear anybody, please send it to me. I will do what I can to take care of it. Um, I mean, at a certain point, if it's just you taking product off of an order, sometimes it is just easier to let it send, and then you might have help with returns if your returns are out of control. But for the most part, just make sure when you're plugging in the order. I used to handwrite my order. I know it's not for everybody. I would handwrite my order, cool, then input it in so I knew everything was correct. Um, but just, I mean, you got to double check yourself and be careful. Check the invoices email. Uh, how do we get cutoffs edited, and how do you end your cutoffs per? Okay. How do you know your cutoffs per account? Oh, this is a great one. If you can share screen with me again,
You have the power to do that.
can you see?
I'm seeing your laptop, not your phone.
You can see my optimizer. Cool. Let's take a peek at this then.
Yeah, on the phone you could do that through dashboards and look up the account very quickly. The route always has the cutoff information.
Yep,
So we
it's
can
called
also do it.
delivery grid with cutoff. So it'll
Yep.
always have. I can teach you real quickly how to read these.
Oh, that's in
Uh,
Sales Rep Daily.
It's in your sales rep daily now.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're looking at this like make and route, 4 p.m., that's your cutoff time. Yeah, it's just an overnight truck is what OS means. So this, if you ever see this 4 p.m. or 3 p.m., that tells you what time your cutoff is on Monday. Now, if it is a 48-hour truck, The rule of thumb is that it would be 5 p.m., but honestly, we give you till 10 a.m. the morning before it gets delivered, to tell you absolutely honestly. Um, Now, if there's no time like this Columbus 1B route, that just means 5 p.m.
Okay.
And you can see this
Default
in
is
all
5
of your
p.m.
customers. So if you were to jump into a customer,
Yeah, customer search works. There is a delivery grid in the sales rep daily that will show you all of your customers and all of your cutoffs. That's a good way to have it.
yep,
But
I
yeah,
had
there you
this
go.
stage. So like for Julie Busking, she has multiple cutoffs. So 3 p.m. on Friday, there's no cutoff. That's just UGA truck. It's the number two truck that we use up there on Thursdays. That's a 5 p.m. cutoff. But the Wednesday truck, it's a 3 p.m. cutoff. So
Variable cutoffs are difficult to master. Cool. All right. I feel like we've reached a good section there to get out of this portion. Um, Good segue with a Caroline Jones question here. I need to build an unscheduled invoice. What's the right way to do it? What
okay.
happens if I do it the wrong way?
So unscheduled, let me jump into my phone again. Sorry, it's easier to show the views from the way you guys see it. So
Yeah,
I feel
100%. Yeah, this would be an example if you have an account that's a Monday for Tuesday account, but they didn't order Monday for Tuesday. They hit you Tuesday afternoon and they say, "Can I get this later this week?"
yeah,
So
there
maybe
were two
you're
questions that were kind of similar on this. One was about a cutoff. So say they have like a cutoff that's 5 p.m. and but their delivery's not till Wednesday. But say they're an everyday account. I would wait till the next day.
same.
Wait until 7 a.m. the next day and go ahead and ring in the order. Because what the system will try to do, especially if it's an everyday account, like a downtown account or Athens, it will try to force it onto the truck that day, which
Yep.
doesn't work. So it's always better if they send you an order after cutoff, wait till the next day and just type it in then. Just keep it as like a new unread email, text or email.
I had an
Now,
EBD
if you
account
need
that
to
used to
continue adding invoices, like I said, you can kind of go into your app here. You're going to go to next available delivery day would be what you want to
you're
click.
we're
Now,
not we can't see you right now.
oh, sorry, it takes like a 3 second delay to share my screen.
Hmm. All right, so this is building billing unscheduled invoices.
Yep. So this order, you can go to add unscheduled. And then what I want you to click is route to next scheduled delivery day. Now, say this is after cutoff. Do not do that. Just wait till the next day and then hit route to next scheduled day, which will then force it to next week. And what we'll do is on the optimizer side, we'll pull it to a need to go for the day you need it to go.
You would send your need to go emails directly to your district manager.
Mm-hmm. But always use that route to next scheduled delivery. It keeps, I do want to show that side of it once we kind of get back onto the computer side. Is
Let's
there
just
anything else
say
that's more app-based for you guys? That way I'm not
let's
jumping between
one
devices.
yep, one more extension on this. All right. It's Monday night. I have orders for later in the week. I'm flying out on vacation Tuesday morning at 6 a.m. So I don't want to be pulling up my phone and building orders tomorrow morning. I've got 3 orders to build tonight before I leave town for later this week. How do I do it?
Is your account getting an order? Are they EVD? Would be my first question.
It is a, let's assume yes.
If it is an EVD, you would have to, there's not a good way to do it, to tell you the truth. It will force it onto that night's order.
So on or after requested date does work for that.
Yeah, you could switch it. You like Simon does that a lot with his.
I used to
It
as well.
does, unless you know the route, it does get cumbersome and it creates more work, but we can work around that.
So if you are billing an order Monday night because you're about to go on vacation and you have customers sending you orders on Monday because they're being cool and you're about to go and they know you're about to leave, hey,
Now, if
just
it's a Thursday delivery, go ahead and bill it. But if
okay,
it's a Tuesday delivery, you gotta wait.
okay, good to know. All right, good stuff. Let's see, anything else that can be mobile app? Location.
So I
That
covered billing
feels
customers, my day versus customers. Please try to use my day. And if something is not right in my day, please just let me know and we can fix it.
yep. That
Um,
feels good for the phone portion. Let's switch back to the laptop. Here's a good one while you're switching that you can answer. One of the biggest gripes any sales rep is ever going to have
Hold on one
is
second here.
the
I can make my volume back up here.
yep,
Can you hear me now?
the biggest gripe of any sales rep is going to be the in-stock cuts or the picker cuts. What happens? Why is this happening? What causes that? Did you hear me? You went deaf maybe. Uh-oh. Did we lose John? Might have lost John.
In progress.
Sorry,
Sorry,
killed my
killed
mic there.
there.
All right,
Right.
you're back.
Yep, go ahead.
What causes the picker cut or the in stock cut or the not on trucks? It's obviously the thing um that kills the sales reps the most. Tell me why that happens.
So there's a lot of things that could affect that. Most of the time when a picker cut occurs, I'll kind of explain the process. So if we go, I'm trying to think of like say we just get a product in. A lot of times it will be in a receiving bin, but not put into its true bin. So what we end up doing is stopping the entire operation to go grab that one case. And trust me, we might send out 16,000 cases, but I will hear about that one case every single time that we might have to cut because it's not in the bin that it should be in. For the most part, all of my managers get graded on how many times they cut a product off. I can tell you that it was, I think, 53 items were cut this past week. Now divide that by, 5 days a week. That's, 11-ish items that were wrong product shipped or, whether, like I said, we track everything. So my guys are graded on it. We are working every week to improve those numbers to make sure that every product gets to where it's supposed to go. But when it is picker cut, it is because one, we can't find the product, or two, it is not in a place where we can easily get to it without stopping the entire operation.
So it sounds like anything that can happen, anything that can go wrong will cause picker cuts, which is why picker cuts happen.
Yeah, we are, like I said, down compared to where we were a year ago. We're in a much better situation. By implementing these new robots, it auto picks a lot of it for us. So I think last week altogether, we had to hand pick about 2,000, or no, excuse me, 2,000 items the entire week through what we call dynamic picking. So that number used to be closer to 5,000. We used to do, 1,000, 2,000 cases a night of hand picked items. So there were a lot of issues with that, where last week was something that we've never been able to accomplish, having only about 400 cases a night that we had to hand pick.
Let's go into a section that affects all the sales reps a lot, the Karen or K2 section. Let's explain how her job works.
Okay, for sure.
What does K2 do when I send in a hot shot? And when's the best time for me to send K2 hot shots?
Got it. Best time to send K2 a hot shot. If you're picking it up the next day, let's see what happened to my screen there. Can you see this
Yes.
optimizer now? The best thing to do is to send it before 2 p.m. If you have a hot shot for the next day, please, she's going to stay there at her desk until 5 p.m. trying to move everything over to what we call a conveyor blue sheet, right? So what she does is she creates, it's kind of a two-step process. The two things that need to happen, one, if you're doing a same day sample, there's a different process and there's a lot more to it. When you're doing a sample for the next day, all she has to do is grab your invoice and move it. So I kind of want to show you guys an example of that. So say this is my invoice for Sea Bear. All she would do is click move, next, and then she would go to the right day, or in this sample, she would say, hey, I need to go ahead and move that to either need to go or a conveyor sample, which is what we're going to do. So she'll just drop it onto conveyors Tuesday, and that's it, right? That's super easy. She prints out all the invoices, done. Now, say John Floody calls and is like, hey, I need you to do a same day sample or same day hot shot. It's a lot more work for her. She has to go in and create a load sheet. So I'll kind of show you the whole process here. And given I do this a lot, so I'm a little faster. It takes same thing with Karen, but it still takes a lot of time. So I have to create a load sheet, drop in the right date, then go back to the original invoice, and then do the whole move process. And then I have to print this, and then I have to get Bush to go pick it. And then it just creates more and more work, right? Where if you send me your orders by 5 p.m., 2 p.m., ideally, to Karen the day before you need it, we can have it all sitting there and it just comes right down the conveyor. They put it all onto a pallet and move it right over to Bush's area. Super simple, super easy. That's the fastest way to get your stuff in and out every single day.
All right. Ideally, send your hot shots for the next day before 2 p.m. Second best scenario is before 5 p.m. Third best scenario is day of. It gets harder the later you get, and that's why it takes longer, etc. So good note. We have a little over 5 minutes left. I'm happy with what John has covered. Are there any other questions from the chat that you'd like John to? What's he doing? What's John doing? Addressing things.
Oh, conflict. I want to show you conflict real quick too. So,
Yes, show conflict. Thank you.
so this is what happens when you send in an order past a cutoff. That goes into what we call our import conflict screen. And this is a perfect scenario. Daniel Adolphe from Memorial Drive Enterprises, I think that's the drive-in theater over there, maybe.
It is not. It's an old C-store that I actually opened myself.
There you go. What he did, and I can see what he did. He started an invoice, exited out, and then went back into it and tried to add things to the invoice where you can see here, change from 0 to this number. And all of that went into conflict. So I'm pretty sure he would love this $1,400 order for a C-store, but because he went in and then edited an invoice that had already sent to us, it put the whole thing into conflict.
It appears he did this on Sunday.
Yeah, so what he did, it looks like he rang this in on 6/8 at 12:56 when the order was due Friday at 2 p.m. for Monday delivery. So now I'm going to have to grab this invoice and say, import to a load sheet and move it to the next available delivery day.
All right, my call has a good question. Okay, good. You're showing a great example of why conflict is bad. And that's always something that, like, when you create a big conflict, I feel like one of your guys should grab it, send it to the rep in the DM and say, hey, here's what you did wrong. Don't do it again.
Would you? Yeah, it is hard to do that because this is just, I'm telling you, this is just today. Like it is nonstop. So if I see repeat offenders, absolutely, I will do that 100%. But it is nonstop though. It's almost uncontrollable how many items go into conflict daily.
Maybe let's make a little video after this sometime down the road where we'll just make one of, like, here's all the things you can do. Here's all the things you do wrong to create a conflict. Don't do these things. Here's what to do instead.
Yeah, most of them, as you can see, are just kind of timing issues. So 4 p.m. cutoff, sent this to us on 6/9. I mean, they're pretty.
I see it. It's an interesting sheet. I personally would like
as
it.
You can see here, this one is simply changing from 0 from an invoice that we already had.
We're getting some questions to load up. Mike Hall has a good one.
I'm here to answer as long as you guys want. I know the session ends at 4:45, but I can answer.
Yeah, we can go along. Who is best to email to remove items after sync? Poor Mike Hall last week had to remove 30 plus cases. He doesn't want those getting loaded on the truck. He'd rather them get cut, but it is complicated. What's the answer to that question?
Best way is either Jabari and they have an email address, Jabari. You remove it right there, or Karen. But the problem is, make
how
sure
you spell Jabari?
Jabari.
I was right first time. Cool.
Jabari Hodge.
All right. So yeah, Jabari or K2 is maybe we put a group together for them down the road.
Yeah.
All right, Casey, I believe that's Casey Hall. Could you talk about putting together a new opening orders, and separating them by category?
Big thing on that is just using POs, using the PO number column. So if you want to do wine all on one invoice, put in PO wine and then just bill all your wine on one invoice. That'll keep it all separated.
Use POs. If you want the invoice to be separate, a PO will always separate it. Otherwise, unless the account is set up differently, most likely they will merge back together, which is why billing extra invoices is really not an issue. By the time it gets to the customer, it's going to merge back together unless you prevent that from happening. All right, driver question. How to report a number out of service. I was trying to get in contact with a driver. I feel like that's a delivery issues survey.
Yep. So, and if any of the drivers' phone numbers have changed, they are all in Encompass. So you can just click user and find every driver's number. We have issued phones to all the drivers. So they have typically a 912 number is how you would tell a driver number. But
that's my number too.
there's also delivery surveys, which I can quickly show you.
Yeah, show those, because we went over those in the last chat, but they haven't been fully published yet. So you guys might not know about them.
Yes. So do you want to share screen on that, or you want me to do that?
I
Okay.
no, do it on your handheld.
Cool. I got you.
Yeah,
We've
deliver.
just implemented this, and feel like we've only done a couple people so far with these, but I think it will be impactful. And it gives us all the information we need to make a change really quick. Show you real quick.
Once you show this, we have basically the same question we'll address. So good question, ladies. All right, yeah, delivery survey is a good one. So you go into the account, you press the surveys button, add new survey, and then delivery issue survey right there, and
So you
fill it
can
out.
say
Yep.
plays worse. The important thing though is actually using a real invoice number. So make sure that you use, a full on, 7-digit number because it will tag the driver, all the information that I need. It gives me who their supervisor is, the driver, and it emails all of these people and says, hey, this is what happened. This was what was wrong. And it helps if you take a picture as well, so you can just add your image as well. And then you just hit, the idea was that we'd have a quick, easy way for you to report mainly like, hey, this guy didn't merchandise a store and it is a non-merchandise store, or hey, this driver left the product, sitting outside. Here's a picture of it. That gives me something to go back to the driver and say, what is this? They get their pay docked. So if they do something wrong, they are docked pay $5 per incident, per day, per communication issue, check issue. Like it affects them. So they want to make sure things are right. It is in their best interest to deliver all your products, right? Like they don't want to not deliver because they get paid for delivering per case, per item. So, they are highly incentivized to make the delivery for you guys.
Good question
Again,
here.
go ahead.
The hold, do not pick, delete buttons that are in the handheld, do those not work?
I don't trust it. I trust complete. The hold do not pick. When we get to a certain point and if we still see that, we're probably going to pick it just because we don't know whether or not. Um, I have not seen what that looks like on our side, which is not a good indicator that those buttons actually work.
I think delete works.
Delete sometimes works, yeah.
I'm pretty confident that the hold is a short-term hold. It's probably puts it in soft sync, but doesn't allow anybody to grab that invoice. But at a certain point in the day, an invoice that is on hold will go. It will not remain held.
We can
So,
test that too, Patrick, on the side.
all right. Cool. Yep. Cameron reports the survey. Definitely, yeah, guys. Every time on that survey, because a lot of times you don't know who to email, and the default is email your DM, but sometimes I don't know who to email either. So that survey is go ahead and say, all right, this is what happened. My client is bitching that our driver left the kegs outside and now they're 70 degrees. He needs to tap them tonight. All
Yeah.
right, cool. This is something we need to address. Hey,
Do
when
your
you
due diligence on these two, right? Because
yeah,
I'm going to check to see what's going on, check to make sure they're doing the right thing. So I don't want to accuse my driver if it is something that, hey, the receiver told my guy to put it on a U-boat. Well, let's get with the receiver first and make sure your receiver is not telling him put it on a U-boat, put it on the shelf. Because
yeah,
9 times out of 10, that is the issue where the receiver will say, hey, no, put it over there. Um, I'd rather
broker
you guys use
receivers
these
are another
surveys. And the
breed.
idea here is if these surveys work for driver issues, I'd rather switch all of our keg issues, like, hey, we need to get a keg pickup, all those kind of items. I'd rather eventually switch to this survey style so that you guys can easily put in the information, take the picture, and go. And it
Mm.
emails everybody that it needs to go to rather than you having to jump into Gmail and doing all that.
Or look up the email to do the right template to make sure it doesn't get kicked back by Daniel or Joanna who are mad at you for sending it wrong, which happens to everybody. So don't
Yep.
feel unique about that. Um, yeah, that sounds great. So yeah, use these features so you learn how to use them and then we can build on them and add in more cool stuff that makes your lives easier. The goal here, obviously, folks, is to keep you guys doing what you're best at and let the warehouse cover what they're best at. Any other questions for Mr. Floody Buddy? Some good ones, good effective chat so far, in my opinion.
Yep.
Caroline
And
says,
please, and
thank
feel free to
you.
call me if you have questions. What does it
Does the driver look to see if there is a balance, some AR on the account? I'm going to say no, that they do not.
It depends on most of the drivers know they're going to go off of the invoice. So when there's multiple invoices, they're more likely to check the overall balance. But it shows up in your handheld the same way. It's like, hey, this is how much the account owes.
You could certainly, if the customer rule one is don't send people orders when they owe us money, but we all know that occasionally the customer's like, oh yeah, I'm sorry, I forgot to pay my case of Tito's. Can I just write the same check on my order this week? Can I just combine them? Yeah, cool. That's usually fine. We're going to default to giving good customer service and making your and our drivers' lives easier. So I would write on the note on the invoice to say, combined check, invoice number, total, and then the driver's going to see that and says, oh, hey, do you have an invoice that we need to collect the check for from last time? And we can combine them. Giving them a little extra information is probably going to helpful. Most of the drivers are probably willing to do that for you. But in general, don't send people stuff when they owe us money unless you really trust them. Unless
And
it's
if it's
certainly a
something
clerical
weird,
error.
call your driver.
Yeah. All right, cool. Let's call it. Great chat. I'm going to upload this onto the YouTubes. You guys can watch it again because you love John and my voices so much. Have a great Monday. Have a great week. We'll talk to you soon.
Thanks, all.